With just 3 days till the championship season begins, I thought maybe just throw a few score predictions in there. Hello everyone, I'm Jane the SAFC fan, and today I'm here to predict week 1 of the EFL Championship. Let's get straight into it, everyone. So we're starting off with St Andrews for an absolute cracker on Friday night. It's Birmingham City versus Ipswich, and I think this is going to be one hell of a game. Unlike what happened last Friday with Luton v Wimbledon. For this one, Birmingham are the slight favourites according to the bookies, and I can understandably so. I've got Birmingham finishing in the top 6. I've got them 5th place. I've got Ipswich winning the league. But to be honest, this is a really tricky start for both clubs. Obviously, Birmingham have made quite a few signings this window. I think they've had a really good transfer window. Ipswich are looking to get some more players in. So, that's good. Obviously, they've lost Liam Delap, but they've replaced him quite a lot. It's pretty fine, to be honest. Ipswich have a really good squad for the championship. That's why I've got them winning it. For this one, I don't know. It's just like a really tough one to predict. Score prediction with Birmingham being at home. I've got to back Birmingham. Score prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Birmingham. But yeah, literally anything can happen in that game. So really 50-50 to be honest. Then we head to the first of the 12:30 Saturday kickoffs. It's Charlton Athletic versus Watford, and Nathan Jones, I really like him as a manager. He's brought in a few good players for Charlton. Obviously, they've signed Thomas Kaminski from Luton. I think that's a really good signing. But the thing is with this one is that Charlton, with how up for they're going to be, Nathan Jones, like I said earlier, I really like him as a manager. Watford, I do think will have a viable season. I think they'll finish 12th. But with Charlton Athletic being at home right now, with how the home fans will have them fired up for that game, how Nathan Jones will have them fired up for that game, I've got Charlton winning this one. Score prediction, it's going to be really narrow, but I've gone 2-1 Charlton, and I really, like I said, I do like Nathan Jones as a manager, and I think with how much signings Charlton have brought in, I generally think they are up to survive in this championship season. Then we head to the Coventry Society Arena for Coventry City versus Hull City, and now I've got Hull getting relegated, but that squad is, I think they could stay. They're looking to start Ollie McBurney, even with that transfer embargo. Still having a decent window, to be honest, I think. Coventry, they've signed Cade Kester-Hayne, and I do think Coventry are favourites in this one. I personally think last season, Coventry's home form is probably what put them in the top 6. Their away form was kind of mixed, 50-50, to be honest. They lost the games. They lost 1-0 away at Luton, 3-1 away at Plymouth. But then they beat Sunderland in that 1-0. They could have beat Burnley. But that's besides the point now. Hull's away form last season was really good, and Coventry, it's a natural thing for them. They always tend to start the season off really poor. For the past 4 seasons, last time they won on the opening day was 4 seasons ago. Whether that was a Mark Robins thing or a Coventry thing, we're going to find out. But I've got Coventry finishing 4th, and I do think if they do want to head into the top 6 this season, they've got to get off to a winning start. But I've got a feeling that Hull may nick something. Just because Coventry's at home, I've got to back them for that win. And score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Coventry. But I do think that I wouldn't be surprised if Hull really got a point in that game, to be honest with you. Or maybe even a win. And after that, and the final 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, we head to St Mary's for Southampton versus Wrexham. And I think we can all safely say that Southampton are overwhelmingly the favourites for this game. And for good reason. I get they've just come back off, let's just say, what was a disastrous Premier League season. They finished on 12 points. But we're seeing what happened with Sheffield United. They finished 3rd and got to the playoff final, but I'll not speak about that because I do think I've got Sheffield United fans on my page. But Southampton's squad, arguably one of the best in the league, if not the best. I've got them finishing 2nd, but I do think they'll be in the title fight. I definitely think they'll get automatic promotion. And the thing is with Wrexham is they started the window off so slowly, but then they've just picked up. They signed Ryan Hardy, signed John Swift, whatever he's called, and they're looking at there's rumours that he could sign Ericsson. What a signing that would be! But even with all the excitement going with Wrexham at the moment, going away to St Mary's in your first game of the Championship is not an easy task for any Championship club. And that's why I've got Southampton to win this game. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-0 Southampton. But, like I say, it's by no means a disaster for Wrexham losing to St Mary's, because I pretty much think every team will lose to St Mary's. I do think it will be a fortress this season. I'll probably be a strong point for Southampton, let's just say. Then we head to the Riverside for Middlesbrough versus Swansea, and fun fact, this was actually the first game for both these clubs last season, but yeah, it was at the Riverside as well. Middlesbrough won 1-0, and past 3-4 games, Middlesbrough have won 3 times out of 4 against Swansea. But that means nothing for this game. That's just a record that means nothing. For this one, Borough are the favourites, but last season, let's just say they were very inconsistent at the Riverside. I think they won 5-1 away at Luton or something, and then they lose 3-0 against Cov. They really are inconsistent. They lost 3-0 against Cov at the Riverside, by the way. So they were inconsistent at the Riverside. And Swansea ended last season in such good form, and if they continue in that form, I genuinely think they can get something in this game. Borough are the favourites for this one, but with how Swansea ended last season, I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go 1-1 between these two, but if Borough do kick on, I do think they'll win this game. But with how Swansea played at the end of last season, I've got them drawing 1-1, I'm saying, between them two. Then we have a really interesting game at Carrow Road for Norwich City versus Millwall. And these two sides I have fighting for the playoffs, but they will miss out. I've got Millwall 7th and Norwich 8th. Norwich, they have lost B-signs to Porto and Josh Sargent looking like to leave. But I still think the signings they've made, that squad should be battling for playoffs, and I've got them as a dark horse. I don't really think people are speaking much about Norwich. Their home form last season, I think, was much better than away form, and they were one of the most free scoring sides of the Championship last season. Only Leeds scored more goals than them. I think Leeds scored 100 goals or something. So that is not to be sniffed at. Millwall last season, though, they defended really well, and away form for Millwall was pretty good last season. They were the 9th best team in the Championship last season on away form. This one's really tough to call. It just depends who actually kicks on. But I think since Norwich are at home, I'm just going to give them the edge in this game. Score prediction, I'm going to go, let's go for a bonkers 3-2 Norwich win. I do think both sides will really challenge each other, and I think both will be pretty solid this season, but with Norwich being at home, I've got to back them for the win. Then we head to the Kassam for Oxford United versus Portsmouth, and if we're basing it off stats of last season, Oxford are definitely the favourites for this one, because Oxford's home form last season is probably one of the main reasons they stayed up. Their away form wasn't great. Portsmouth's reason for safety was their home form. Their away form, shambles, but their home form is that was their big strong point, and I think it will be again next season. Their record at Fratton Park was brilliant. They beat Leeds United there, who finished with 100 points. That is not to be sniffed at. Oxford at the Kassam, I do think that'll be a fortress for them. If they want to stay up, that will probably be a strong point for them. Oxford is a pretty tough one to put your finger on right now. I've got them getting relegated, and for this one, I can't really see anything past. It's just one of them ones where you don't know what to predict. Score prediction for me, I'm just going to go for a 1-1 draw between these two. I don't think I've actually predicted a draw yet, have I? Then we head to Loftus Road for QPR versus Preston, and I do think QPR could get off to a good start, unlike what happened last season. We obviously know how disastrous a start that was. For Preston, I think they would take a point going into this game. I've got Preston being in and around that relegation zone, and like I said, relegation, a big possibility for Preston, isn't it? QPR, I do think are the favourites to this one. They're at home. They've got the home support behind their backs. You know, QPR have decent fan base. And unlike last season at the start, which was obviously disastrous, I do think QPR will get off to a win for the first game of the season. Obviously, last season they lost 3-1 against West Brom. Preston's away record last season was shocking. They didn't win a single away match on Saturday. Think about that for a second. 46 games. That is disastrous. Score prediction, for me, I'm going to go 2-0 QPR for this one. I do think they are slight favourites to this one, and they're my favourites as well. Then we head to the Bet365 for a repeat of last season's fixture between these two. It's Stoke versus Derby, and this is a game where I think that the first goal really does come to that of Stoke. They've just progressively just gone down as seasons go by. You know, they finished 18th last season. Yeah, against Derby, it's not really the game you want to be starting off in around the relegation scrap. Now, Derby, I think, will finish mid-table. I've got them 13th, and that's because of all their signings. Carlton Morris is a big address to their problems last season, which was goal scoring. Derby weren't the best at goal scoring, but Carlton Morris is surely going to fix that issue, right? And also to address the issue with Derby, I think they've got the oldest squad in the Championship. You know, I think most of the players are in and around their 30s. Stoke, I think, are the favourites for this one, but I've got Derby finishing higher than Stoke, and I've not predicted any away wins yet. I don't think. Score prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Derby on the road, which would be a great start for them. Then we head to the Hawthorns for West Brom versus Blackburn, and I think I know who I've got for my win here now. Blackburn have won their first game, I think, in the past 3 seasons, but they're just inconsistent, you know. 22-23 season, 7th. 23-24, 19th. And then last season they finished 7th, just missing out on the playoffs. I think Blackburn will not finish that high. I think they'll have a massive drop-off because they're not having the best of transfer windows. You know, they've just lost Callum Britton to Middlesbrough, which is obviously a huge loss. But they've looked alright in pre-season. You know, they beat Everton. That's a good one. But West Brom's home form, I think that's what's carried them through pretty much every season. I don't think West Brom won a single away match since October from last season. And the problem with West Brom, they're very draw heavy. But I do think like last season, home form will carry them. And for that reason, I think I'm fancying a West Brom win. 1-0 West Brom. And that's because of their home form. And you know what West Brom are like at home. They always fancy a win. And in the Championship, home form, I do think, matters for most clubs at least. Then we head to Bramall Lane for Sheffield United versus Bristol City, and yeah, we're getting the playoff semi-final again, but I don't think it will finish as high of scoring as 3-0 as it did before. You know, Sheffield United won 6-0 on aggregate, pretty dominant. But I'm looking at that back line, it's looking pretty weak, to be honest. They don't look as highly defensive as they were last season. And for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised if Bristol City got something from this game. Sheffield United are set to lose, what's he called again? Oh, I'm trying to think of his name again. The striker, Kiefer Moore. It's Kiefer Moore set to leave to Wrexham, but the club hasn't made an announcement yet. That'll be a big loss. And, you know, Sheffield United haven't had a good window, I don't think. Bristol City are coming into the season weaker than they were last season, but score prediction for me, I am just going to edge Sheffield United with home. I'm going to go 2-1 Sheffield United, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bristol City got a point in that one with how leaky that Sheffield United defence is looking at the minute. And the final game going on in game week 1, we have Leicester City versus Sheffield Wednesday at the King Power, and this is going to be brutal, isn't it? Sheffield Wednesday, I think, are coming into this game with 16 players. So, yeah, and going away to Leicester in your first game, you don't want that. Saying that though, Leicester have been a bit quiet in this transfer window, I think, and they are set to have a point deduction. That point deduction hasn't been revealed yet, but it's set to be like a 9-point deduction. That's why I've got them finishing 6th in the league. Sheffield Wednesday, the problems that are happening behind the scenes, yeah, many people have got them 24th, and I've got them 24th. It's just really sad how this happens in football. Like, it's happening to quite a lot of clubs at the minute. But in saying that, I do think Leicester will win this game. Score prediction for me, I think it'll be like a game where Leicester will go like 2-0 up at the first half and kind of keep the pace slow. Later on, they just score 2 more goals. Score prediction, I'm going to go 4-0 Leicester in that one. And that is because of the problems happening at Sheffield Wednesday in a minute, because most of their star players have left. So I've gone for 4-0 Leicester in that game. Well, there you have it. That is my Championship Week 1 score predictions. The Premier League ones will come out on Thursday. But other than that, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe down below. Put your predictions down in the comments. And then I'll see you all in the next one.